That's the thing. So many people get so jaded and so angry about the business and being like, oh, I could have did that. You know what? It didn't happen. But you need to be happy for those who it happens for. Because what's due to you or for you is going to happen for you when it's meant to happen. And you have to be happy for the people who it's happening for. But you have to be able to bring the life into whatever you're talking about night after night after night. And you're doing your audience a disservice because you had a shitty day.
Yeah.
And you can't use the excuse like, oh, my car broke down on the way there. That's not the audience member's fault. They paid X amount of money to laugh.
That's true.
So you have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And people kind of sometimes forget that about comedy when they work on it. It's still an art form. It's still something that you need to put the work in. And because people take for granted comedy in that sense, because there's people who are just naturally funny, the real craftsmanship is being able to do it again and again and again, night after night, audience after audience. And your audience is never the same. Your audience is going to change. And you as a comic have to figure out, if this audience isn't gelling with these type of jokes, how can I make my jokes or my moments something that's going to connect to them? And that's the artwork. That's the work of what you're doing. Are emotional soldiers. They go to war and bring back emotions and things and places in their mind that an average person hides away.
Interesting.
And that's part of the reason why you end up having a lot of these actors end up going, using drugs, using alcohol, because they're constantly going back and forth to these places that on screen looks amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, like as an audience member, you're just, how did you do that? Because they're going somewhere that you as an audience member don't want to go back to, may even forgot purposely to protect yourself, but they're going back on a regular basis. And the thing is, these acting schools and these acting coaches, they teach you how to access that. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, right, to access that pain. But what they don't do is they don't teach you how to become a regular person afterwards. They don't. And so they end up, you're in essence of like unpacking your shit, right? You unpack all your shit, but they never teach you how to pack it back up so you can walk out the door and be a regular human being and be constructive human being where you're participating in society as a quote unquote normal person. It's very difficult. So end up having a lot of actors who haven't figured that out and how to pack their stuff back up, that end up self-medicating, through drugs and drinking. And so you have a lot of actors walking around damaged because they're unpacked souls.
So, Marlana, I didn't mean to stalk you on social media, but I did look at your Instagram a little bit.
Okay.
You've been doing comedy for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been doing comedy. Well, here's the thing. All right. So stand-up, I've been doing, let me see. I think I started stand-up in 2017? Okay. No. Take that back. So longer than that, because my daughter's 2016. So I think I started like towards the 2014-ish, right? But that's stand-up. But as far as comedy, I've been doing comedy for over 20 years, because when I was younger, I would write sketches as a kid. I made characters. I would base characters off of teachers, things like that, for like talent show things. Like sixth grade was like my first time like making a character, and I based it off of one of my teachers, that kind of thing. And then from there, I would write little things for myself. I always kept journals and things like that. And then in college, they had an opportunity. I went to college at Howard University. So they had this opportunity where they had some of the different students make sketches in hopes to eventually give it to Chris Rock. I don't think that ever happened, but it was called like the Ill Top, and it was designed to be like a sketch show kind of thing. So I did some writing on that and some acting on that. Yeah. And then from there, I went to school. I left DC, and I went to an acting conservatory in New York. So I studied acting, at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for a year.
Huh.
Yeah. And after the first year, I didn't get asked back. They didn't ask me back. People were like, I can't believe they didn't ask you back. You should fight it. I'm like, I ain't got the money to fight it. Like, even if they let me back in, I can't financially afford it. So after that, I ended up doing like private, like doing classes.
Wait,
and
why do you have to get asked back?
It's one of those type of programs, like where it's designed like to kind of weed people out. So with these acting conservatories, what the first year they do is they strip you. They strip you of your accent. They strip you of your entire physical being. And they do that with the intentions of the second year, bringing you back and then teaching you how to build characters on top of this foundation, right? Well, with me, they were like, well, you have such a southern accent that's very strong and you aren't able to lose it, and all these wonderful things about who I am that weren't going away, at least not quick enough. And so therefore, I just wasn't, asked back for that. And one of my girlfriends, who I was really close with, who was asked back, and her boyfriend were like, you should fight it. And I was like, I can't afford it. Even if they got invited back, I would have had to figure out where I was going to get that money. So I was like, it's easier for me to pay like month to month compared to doing a big tuition kind of thing. Yeah. And so I ended up taking classes with a teacher who did teach there, who did like value my skills. Yeah. And I studied with her husband for like a year. Huh. And then after that, I ended up touring. Oh, dang. After I studied with her, I booked a tour in which it was called, it was a college tour. It was called From Auction Block to Hip Hop. Huh. And with that tour, we traveled to different universities and colleges and did the play. Wow. Throughout the country.
What was your role?
So it was, again, this role here was a little bit more of the comic relief for it, and I played multiple characters.
Oh, nice.
In it, yeah. So that really was fun. And then after I did that, I did that for a good couple years, because we would tour for like a little while and then come back, and then I'll book like work in the city on different plays, like small like off Broadway kind of things, and then we'll go back touring, and then I would just have like other, I had like a main gig. At that point, I think I was working for, like my main like paying stuff was like Victoria's Secret, my retail job. I had that, but then I would leave and do those shows for like maybe a few days and come back and then go back to work kind of thing. But I did that play. I want to say I did that play for maybe like almost 2 or 3 years, off and on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but it was off and on, so it wasn't like I wasn't gone like for months at a time. Like I'd be gone for like a week, then come back and be back in New York for a while, then leave and be, like it wasn't that crazy.
Huh. You were like a touring stage actor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think Tim McRae also comes from an acting background.
A lot of people do. You start talking to them, especially in LA, because everyone wants to do some of everything, and it helps to have that background. It helps, especially if you're doing commercial acting. Right. So from that, then like I told you, I did different plays here and there. And then I had booked like a film role, and I was like, I gotta really get down on like my studying, because it was like more of a dramatic role. So I ended up working with Susan Batson at the Susan Batson studio. So Susan Batson, like she's like the personal coach, and she teaches a lot of people in New York, but she was like the personal coach for Nicole Kidman, Janet Jackson. But her workshop and her way she studies is very intense. And I studied with her for about 2 years. And during that time, at the end, I wrote like a one-woman show about Lucille Ball, because part of her, when you study with Susan, she ends up finding a person a celebrity that in some way you connect to in who you are, right? Or your style of acting, or different things she looks at. Yeah. And for me, she said I could do Lucille Ball or Angela Davis, they're two extreme different people. So she's like, it's up to you. So I read the biography for both of them. Are you familiar with Angela Davis? She's black. Yeah, she's black, and she's very black. She's known as being like a revolutionary, like during the Black Panther time. She's more of a revolutionary compared to Lucille Ball, who is like a comedian
Right.
who's known for doing television, who's known for doing acting. So I gravitated more towards her.
Okay.
And even though she was a white woman, something about her connected more with me
Okay.
than Angela Davis. Um, and so that's who I wrote my one woman show on and did my and studied more of the acting technique that Susan Batson had.
Huh.
So I wrote a whole one woman show, performed it like off Broadway. It was called Who Lucy
Oh
Loved,
shit.
and did that. And then after I finished that, that's when I said like, okay, it's about time for me to move to LA. So I moved to LA here in 2010. Yeah. And so at that point, I was part of different sketch comedy groups. I was in when I lived in New York. I was in a sketch comedy group, and I studied improv at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade. But we would perform like my improv groups or my sketch groups would perform for UCB. And so when I moved out here, some of the people who were in some of the groups I was in back east were here. So I then got part of the back into the sketch and being in a sketch group and then performing with that group for a second. Then that group kind of fell apart. Then I got with another group, and so we started performing over at IOS. I can say it right. I have to say it fast. But iOS is closed, but they have one in Chicago.
Yeah.
You've heard of it. So the group was performing like there, and then eventually that group kind of fell apart because people have lives, you know. Yeah. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I need to just do something on my own, and so that's when I got into stand up. After all that.
How did you get into stand up?
So at that point, I was working a retail gig, and I so happened to got a new manager who used to do stand up.
Okay.
And he was telling me about it. I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm interested in doing stand up. You know, what do I need to know? And so he ended up giving me the information to a promoter. Huh. And so I talked to the promoter and, you know, started doing open mics, and I ended up doing his show. And then a couple of my friends recommended David Arnold to study with, God rest his soul, who was a phenomenal teacher. And so I studied with him, and his class was like the best thing because it wasn't only that he was good, but he was good at saying, this is what you're good at. Right? He wasn't one of these teachers who try to make you say or do something based on whatever they think you should say. Like, no, he would listen to what you had and then would say, like, okay, this is what's working. Huh. You know, and help you structure that compared to making something up, like, right, or giving you some kind of gimmick or whatever, right? Because that's how some of them work, right? But he was really good at finding whatever you had and bringing that funny out and helping you structure that. Huh. And he had great people in the class. So with being in class with people who were actually serious in some kind of way, I ended up booking work with them because they'd be like, oh, you know, I have this show that I'm shooting, or, you know, or I have this project I'm working on, or I, you know, have a show, I put this show up, and then I would get work from people who were in class, which was great.
I'm sorry, which venue was this?
So he was over at Haha.
Really? Mm-hmm. David Arnold?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was he white?
No, he was black.
Oh, really?
He has a couple Netflix specials too.
Oh.
He has like 2 Netflix specials, and he was a writer. He had his own show. The last show he worked on was it was a kid show. It was Lele. Oh. There's Lele, something like that. He was like the head writer on that, but he's written for a lot of different shows before that. Before he passed away about maybe, I guess, almost 2 years now. Huh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you go to Haha anymore?
I haven't been to Haha in years.
It's right around the corner.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I haven't been in years.
There's some weird shows there.
Are they?
Do like a 10-person burner. I don't have.
Oh heck no, yeah. That's crazy. See, when I was going to, it wasn't like that. Like if you did a bringer, maybe 1 or 2, but it wasn't like crazy numbers. Yeah. And then the great thing about his class was at the end you got to do a show. Yeah. You know, and it was at Haha. You know, and at that point, that's when the Haha second location was starting to come up, so it was like a brand new venue we had.
Oh man.
And it was super new. I mean, we were in the old one, but in the end, we finished at the new location.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Is they have a second location?
No, the location there that's open now is the second location.
Gotcha.
I think they closed the old one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But they're both were on Lakersham. They were like literally like maybe like a few blocks down the street. Like they're both on Lakersham. Just one was further down.
I see.
Yeah.
But like you're talking about your accent over here. I don't really hear.
That's what I'm talking about. These people said I had a southern accent. No. Yeah, I guess it would come out more so when it's more of a Midwestern accent, to be honest. And when you study at these acting conservatories, they want you to have general American accent, something like that. I can't remember now, which is such bullshit. And I'll say that honestly, it's such bullshit because at the end of the day, when you book some work, they book it off what you bring. And that being whatever it might be your accent. It may be the quirkiness about you. But when you book, especially like commercial work, what changes what one person does is what you bring from yourself. And some of the best people in acting, you fall in love with who they are.
Yeah. Right?
And then they end up being that person in different roles. A good example is like, what's her name? She was in Mystic Pizza. She did Aaron Brockovich. Julia Roberts. Yeah. Julia Roberts is the same fucking person in everything. You think about it.
Well, that's true.
She's the same. She's the same person, right? And you love Julia Roberts. Yeah. You love Julia Roberts. You're not sitting here like, oh, like she's. The closest she did was character work was Erin Brockovich, but she still was like Julia Roberts, right? And that's who you fall in love with. And you could strive for a career where you are like depicting different characters, like what's her name? Who does a lot of character work? Meryl Streep. Yeah. She has the ability to like conform and mold into different people. And Nicole Kidman too. Like, you really don't even know who these people really are. Yeah. Right? And you could strive for that type of career, but keep in mind, those are the type of roles that you're going to be building characters. The average commercial audition you're going to is looking for you. They're looking for whatever it is that you can bring to this lame text that they have written. They're looking for whatever the essence of you that you bring. Yeah. But when you go to these acting conservatories, they teach you, they don't want that. They strip that all away from you and they leave you blank with the intentions of making you this person who is going to be this character actor. So you have to ask yourself, what type of actor do you want to be? Do you want to be a character actor? Yeah. Do you want to be an actor who's, an elevated version of yourself? Yeah. You have to ask yourself, what do you want to be? And I felt like I could do character work, but it takes a lot. Not to say the other one isn't taking a lot, but it takes a lot of stripping of yourself. And then after you strip that self, then it's the building of this other person, but still in a way connected to yourself. So that way it's a grounded performance, and it's not you acting out, it's you being that character. Right. So with that in mind, you have to have an idea what you want to do in work. The great thing about doing comedic work, a lot of times it ends up you being you. What funny you bring? What is your take on it? And I feel that's been more of my purpose and more of my calling than the character work. And not to say I can't do the character work, but it when I did it, it took so much out of myself that I don't want to go back. I can confidently say like the work I did in New York in the sense of with Susan and building my character took so much out of me. Like I don't want to go back, and it's okay. You have to be okay with that, Is it
a lot of like physical appearance change, or no?
It's physical. Yeah. It's emotional. Right. And here's the thing: people don't even think about when they're watching actors. Their actors are emotional soldiers. They go to war and bring back emotions and things and places in their mind that an average person hides away.
Interesting.
And that's part of the reason why you end up having a lot of these actors end up going, using drugs, using alcohol, because they're constantly going back and forth to these places that on screen looks amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, like as an audience member, you're just, how did you do that? Because they're going somewhere that you as an audience member don't want to go back to, may even forgot purposely to protect yourself, but they're going back on a regular basis. Oh. And the thing is, these acting schools and these acting coaches, they teach you how to access that. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, right, to access that pain. But what they don't do is they don't teach you how to become a regular person afterwards. They don't. And so they end up, you're in essence of like unpacking your shit, right? You unpack all your shit, but they never teach you how to pack it back up so you can walk out the door and be a regular human being and be constructive human being where you're participating in society as a quote unquote normal person. It's very difficult. So they end up having a lot of actors who haven't figured that out and how to pack their stuff back up. They end up self-medicating, through drugs and drinking. And so you have a lot of actors walking around damaged because they're unpacked souls.
Huh. Is it kind of like a Heath Ledger kind of situation?
Yeah. Huh. I think, especially going through like something like the role of the Joker, I'm sure he probably dug up some things and was in a place that was really dark. And a lot of times you have to do that. But the trick is coming back out of that.
Right.
After you're done, and some people don't make it out.
But do audiences respond to that? Like you were talking about unpacking like all the pain. So that's what people respond to? As
audience members, you don't think about what it took to get there. And you're not supposed to. It's art, right? You're this is why we go to the theater. We watch a movie for an experience that we can sit for 2 hours and be able to turn it off and be done with. The problem is, as an actor, you can't do it because you're really accessing something. Yeah. You're really digging up some things. Yeah. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, but it's more difficult to put it back up. Right. And as an audience member, you don't know that's all going through there, and you're not supposed to. That's the beauty of going to the movie theater. You're not supposed to see the acting. Right. You're not supposed to see trying to work up the tears. The tears are supposed to be there. Like they're supposed to be there magically. Right. You're not gonna see everything that goes up to it. Right. Just like if you go to a basketball game, you're not gonna see all the prep work that they really, really did. I mean, you see a little bit of them stretching in the beginning, them doing the shots and warm up and stuff. But but the real work that went to it, you're not there to see it, and you don't really want to be there. That's not sexy. That's not the sexy part. Yeah. You want to see them, making those threes. You want to see them over there, like slam dunking. You want to see you want the sexy part. You don't want to see all the other stuff. That's the same thing with acting.
It's a good analogy. Yeah. Do you watch that?
No, you know what? I don't watch it like I used to. I'm more of a football person.
Oh, really?
Which is fun. But the only reason I use basketball because we're in the basketball season. So, but I'm more of a football person. I'm from the South. Like, football big, Football's a way of life. Yeah, that's a way of life down South.
So when you were like in junior high school, you were still in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I was there until I graduated high school.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to school, elementary on up through Florida.
So you are kind of a Southern girl.
I am. Like, I have a lot of Southern ways about me. I mean, if you talk to me long enough, it will come out. But I am very much a Southerner, in the sense of like I'm very, hospitable. I'm all about taking care of my family. Yeah. I'm all about taking care of those who are close to me. Yeah. I'm all about respect. Yeah. Very much about respect. Yeah. And those are like some very big Southern qualities, I feel, that have been installed in me. But at the same time, I have my liberal ways. Like gay people can be together, it's fine with me. I don't have those kind of issues. But yeah, I'm Southern. Yeah.
I'm working on this joke. I think I might have done it at THC, but a gay wedding in North Carolina. That was always fun.
Oh, did you live in North Carolina?
I went to my undergrad there.
Oh, what school?
UNC.
UNC. Oh, okay. Chapel Hill.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Thank you for that.
You weren't expecting us to go acting, did you?
What?
You weren't expecting us to go do a little actor workshop, did you?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling you.
Yeah.
We never know what's going to
Gonna
happen.
He's
That's
like,
why
I
it's
didn't
fun for me. I
know.
never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know you were like a stage actress person.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your, well, you mentioned Julia Roberts, but did you have any other favorites growing up? Or like right now?
You know, one actress who I've always enjoyed was Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, nice.
Because she actually used to do, she had stand up too.
Yeah.
But whenever she did roles, like her roles were, like she knew how to melt into roles, right? I mean, she even got an Oscar for Ghost.
Oh, Ghost. Right.
Yeah, she got an Oscar for Ghost, which is kind of interesting, but supporting actress. But she, I always appreciated her work. I always appreciated her stand-up, her comedy, you know.
Do you watch The View?
I used to, when it first came out, I used to watch The View. But now, you got to be home to watch all that stuff. I'm not home. And, yeah, I don't watch that stuff like I used to. But when it first came out, because that was the first one to have those kind of shows. Now, like, every network has their own kind of View. It's like The View, but it's on CBS, you know, like that. It's like The View, but it's on Fox, you know, like, it's the one that everyone says it's like, but it's not, you know, like, but I used to watch it, like, when it first came out. I thought it was great, because it was that whole idea of, you have all, like, 5 women with different perspectives on life. Again, that's another example, like, they're not, and when it comes to entertainment, they want to know your perspective.
Yeah.
You, who you essentially are, the essence of you.
Right.
And so if you strip that out of the way, you end up being plain. It's not interesting.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not interesting. Why would you want to watch something that's predictable? Why would you want to watch someone that you know what they're going to say that's out their mouth, you know? What's the fun of that as a viewer, right? And so it's good to have those different perspectives, and that's what made The View interesting. Like, you had women who are all over in different ways of life and cultures coming together talking about one thing, and they gave you their view on it.
Yeah.
That topic.
Yeah.
Not to say not to go to acting school. It's important, okay? I would say you still go to acting school. There's some good things there, but don't feel if you don't get into one of these big programs, there's something wrong with you. And don't feel that if you aren't the character actor in a sense of building characters that you aren't going to work. Because a lot of times you're going to get picked off of you and what you said and what you did that was kind of different and kind of, oh, she's kind of kooky, and they're going to book that from you.
Huh. Man, I wish I could act and have something smart to say right now.
You have to, just add a voiceover later on. Add it in post. Think on it and add it in post. Like,
You mentioned Whoopi Goldberg. Any favorite comedians growing up?
Oh, I've always loved Chappelle.
Chappelle, yes.
Yeah, he's such, a workhorse. What I appreciate about Chappelle is his work ethic. And I've seen it. Like, I remember when he first came back from the hiatus, he would come to the Comedy Store and sit on stage for a good couple hours and just talk.
Oh, wow.
And that was like a big thing. So I remember one of the times I saw him, I was like out here in the Valley. And one of the comics hit me up like, "Hey, Elena, Chappelle's on stage at the store. Come through." I was like, and I left the mic I was at, and he was still on stage. I had time to get from the Valley to the Comedy Store, and he was still on stage and still stayed up there for another like good 30 minutes, just up there just talking and working. So I always appreciated his work ethic because I saw it, and then two, because he did the work, and that's another thing that people don't realize about stand-up. It's a lot of work to make it look like it's not work.
That's true.
Like, it's not, you're in essence doing the same thing every time you get up, right? You get your set, but it can't feel stale.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with acting theater. Like, you were doing every night, The same script. It's not going to change unless it's an original play. They may change it on you here and there, but for the most part, it's going to stay the same. But you have to be able to bring the life into whatever you're talking about night after night after night, and you're doing your audience a disservice because you had a shitty day.
Yeah.
And you can't use the excuse like, oh, my car broke down on the way there. That's not the audience member's fault. They paid X amount of money to laugh.
That's true.
So you have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And people kind of sometimes forget that about comedy when they work on it. It's still an art form. It's still something that you need to put the work in. And because people take for granted comedy in that sense, because there's people who are just naturally funny, the real craftsmanship is being able to do it again and again and again, night after night, audience after audience, and your audience is never the same. Your audience is going to change, and you as a comic have to figure out, if this audience isn't gelling with these type of jokes, how can I make my jokes or my moments something that's going to connect to them? And that's the artwork. That's the work of what you're doing. So that's what makes it tough. That's why everyone can't do it. But that's makes people have to respect it.
And Chappelle would just practice talking. He wasn't
Yeah.
working on material.
He's working on material too. He's working on material, but also he's finding things. And he has the privilege of being able to get up there at the store for 30 minutes. As regular comics, he'd be like, "Can you give us 5, please? Just 5, 5 minutes, please." But he had to earn that though. It wasn't like given to him in the beginning. He had to work his butt off too. But you have to work your material. You have to give the time to it to make it, help it breathe and help it grow. David Arnold used to say, like, a joke is like polishing a shoe.
Yeah.
Every time you polish it, every time you work on it, it needs to get better, and you find new things about it and shine. And that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Speaking of the comedy store, I'm gonna stop going to their Sunday open mic because I'm a little bit tired right now.
Oh.
No, because it ran until like 1 a.m. last
Oh
night.
my gosh.
And, I didn't get picked, but I'm not gonna go back because, like, just like you were saying, like, don't you think it's a little bit kind of too much? Like, us, we're like waiting for 3 hours to get one chance at this bucket. It's like,
You know what? Here's the thing. I'm so funny. I've never, and I've performed at the store, but I've never done any of their open mics where you have to get picked out of the bucket.
That's good.
So when people tell me that, I'm like, that's why I don't do it. Because I can't. But that's to say, I've done mics though that are bucket mics. But the thing is, when that happens, if you know it's a bucket mic, you need to do the work of the mic. Meaning you need to get in good with the people running the mic. Because some people who are running the mic, sometimes they're pulling from that bucket, and sometimes they're not pulling from that bucket.
Yeah, you're right.
And if you have the relationship, you're going to get pulled.
Yeah.
You're going to get pulled. That's just how it is. And, before I had my daughter, I had those relationships. So I was able to go to bucket mics and get up at a good amount of time. I wasn't sitting there for three hours.
Yeah.
But I had to do the work of that, right? So I had to get to know the people who are doing the mics. If you go into a bucket mic that's like a true bucket mic, you need to know who's running that mic. Or you are going to be there for 3 hours and not get picked.
I mean, you're right, Marlana, but I'm just not very good at, like, doing those connections. I know I'm making excuses, but, like, it sounds like I need to, like, suck up to, like people.
And it's not sucking up.
Yeah.
If you look at it like that, you're never going to be good at it. You're never going to be good at it because you're going to be, first of all, you're going to be nervous to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, what do I say? Did I look at? No, it's more so, getting to know who the person is, listen to the things that they're talking about, because they always talk about themselves, but when they're on the mic. And then, like, just talking to them. And the best thing is to have some shit going on your own already.
Yeah.
That you can say people like, hey, I have a podcast. I would love to have you on.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Where's your podcast? Oh, it's on YouTube. Oh, okay. Things like that. You show you're doing something. oh
Yeah.
hey, I'm shooting some sketches. I have a decent following already. I love to shoot some stuff with you at some time. Even just trying to collaborate with
Yeah.
people on work will get you in the door compared to
Yeah.
like, hey, so what you doing this weekend? You're not bringing anything. That's the thing about LA. You have to bring something of value to people for you to stick in their head.
Yeah.
Sad to say, but if you're not bringing something, you just become like everybody else
That's true.
who wants to take. But if you come in the door already having something you're working on already, then it makes you stick more in their head.
Yeah.
Especially people who are hustling and just trying to work to get work.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a thing like, oh yeah, I know Terry. Yeah, I shot some stuff on when you come through. Hey, what's up, Terry? And then for you, it's more organic because you gotten to know them, right?
Yeah.
You talk to them one on one.
Yeah.
And you spent an hour with this person compared to spending like 30 seconds with that person,
Yeah.
right?
It sounds like you're pretty versed in because you've been in LA for a while. You mustn't, you probably
It's
sick
just
of
how it
it.
is. It's just how it is. And once you figure that out, then you gotta have the energy to do it.
Yeah.
I ain't got the energy like I used to, but I know what needs to be done.
Marlena, I saw your name on the famous show Crack Them Up at the Comedy Store.
Uh-huh.
Were you getting up there a lot?
Yeah, when I was in these streets, I was getting up a lot, and that's the thing. Before I go saying, like, if you do the work of hanging out and getting to know people, then you can get on these shows. You just gotta put the effort in going to the shows, saying, hey, what's up to the promoters. It helps to get to know other comics when you're there, because then they become people who are going to advocate for you. If a promoter asks, if they've seen your stuff or whatever, oh yeah, Terry's fucking hilarious, da da da, so they'll be willing to put you up.
Oh, you even go and support them?
Yeah, going to support
Okay.
other comics.
Yeah.
Going, you've done it. I've seen you come down to
Yeah.
different shows, but going to support other comics, going to different shows, getting to see other people's work, because that's another way you learn too, is watching what other people are doing, like
Yeah,
seeing what they did at the mic and seeing what they actually put up,
Yeah.
and seeing someone polish a shoe, start from where it's just a dark, dull shoe, and watch them polish it to it shines. It shines so bright they're showing it off to people on stage. That, in its essence, is a class on its own. And that's part of the reason why I like hosting open mics, because I like to get to know people. I like to get to know other comics, young comics who are coming through. But I like watching the process, because that makes you better watching the process and seeing how someone, like, oh, I see how you did that. That was clever. Especially when you see someone bring something that was so lame in the beginning, so lame, and then all of a sudden it's like hilarious. Is my favorite part, to seeing the process.
How long have you been? You're friends with everybody at THC?
I'm not necessarily friends, like I'm familiar with people, but I've been hosting mics since 2015.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah, and I started hosting the THC like 2 years ago, but I used to host at this place called Marty's. Yeah, which was like kind of like the THC in a sense that it had open mics all the time, but it didn't really do shows. Like everyone would come from all over, and then just work the different times of the mic. It wasn't open until I think it opened its door about Marty, who was the club owner. He opened his doors about 5 o'clock, and then he would have people there all the way until like maybe 12 midnight, and I would host there. So I had a block from time from 5 to 8 o'clock.
Oh wow!
On Friday night, that was my night, and I hosted, and it was one of the best things to do, because one, if no one was there, I would get up and work my material, right? And then two, if somebody was there, I got to watch them work their material. And the great thing about Marty is you never knew who was going to come through the door, come work. And it'd be like working people who you respect, and you got to know them and sit and talk to them and get in their heads and see the stuff that they're working on. Because it was really the essence of the gym. Like you see stuff bare, and where they're wanting people to give them tags. Purposely they come, what's the tag on this? What can you think? People give like different tags and things like that. The tricky part is people steal jokes too, so you gotta be careful of that too. Because I've seen that happen too. But
In your face?
I've seen it in my face. People steal jokes.
Oh, but anybody famous that you've seen at parties?
At Marty's steal jokes,
Yeah,
but not famous.
Anybody
I
famous?
haven't seen anyone famous at Marty's steal jokes, but I've seen other comics who were around town. I'd be like, I know that joke,
Oh God,
and that's not
the
yours.
worst.
Like I would know that in my head. I'm like, did he just take?
Yeah.
Very rude. And then do it in the same place. Like at least go out of state. You know, at least go to Bakersfield. You know, like have some respect. If you're gonna steal a joke, like at least like leave like the area code. You know, but they'll still do it in the same place. You're like, that's Jonathan's joke. That's not yours. You know, that's the thing. No shame. No shame.
But it is sensitive though because I've seen somebody do it recently.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, oh, it's infuriating. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about it.
But as an audience member, when you know it, you almost feel like you're trying your intelligence. Like I know,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, you feel like you're trying me here. Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
2 years at THC.
Yeah.
Marlana. So after Marty's was THC or no?
No, so after Marty's closed, I kind of just took time off and just like, you know, with my daughter.
Yeah.
Cause I had her in 2016. I took a few months off.
Yeah.
Like almost like 6 months, and then I came back to Marty's, and then Marty's closed. I'm gonna say Marty's closed.
Yeah.
Oh, he was right off of Sunset and Martell.
Oh.
Really good spot. A lot of times this is what happened. A lot of times they hit Marty's, and then you would just go other places from there. Like you go to the store and do your show, or if someone had a show at a Laugh Factory, they'll come warm up there, kind of do their stretches, you know, and then go perform at those other clubs. They're right down the street from there, right? Yeah. And Marty's was like a hub because people would go there and they had like a little it was kind of like this. But imagine over here was a stage, and then over here was a few other rooms that you could perform in too. So he had the main stage, he had a room on to the side, and then in the summer he used to have like the balcony area, and they would used to do some stand up over there. And then when people weren't performing, they just chill, they smoke, they ate, kind of hang out. A lot of people would just hang out. And here's the kicker: people lived there, so he had a couple rooms that he was renting out to comics, mad cheap, because you know, comics, you know, they you need a place to stay. And he had where you could rent a room. And there was a couple people living in the rooms there.
It was like a bed and Airbnb.
I wouldn't even say it was that classy. Okay. Now you're making it classy. But it was like had like a little kitchen that they all used the kitchen, and had like the bathroom and stuff too. But it was a hub that a lot of comics felt almost like a safe haven.
That's awesome.
That they were at. Yeah.
I feel like we don't have those anymore.
We don't have those anymore. Eventually he closed. He was just tired, and I think because they were raising the rent on the lease, you know, just like everything in Hollywood. He was kind of like, you know.
Marty's, M-A-R-T-Y.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, and Marty himself was a comic who would do like some real extreme like jokes that if you didn't know him, you'd be like, "You dirty pervert," you know. But if you didn't know him. But he was like this amazing sweetheart of a man. And
was he black?
No, he was white. Well, he's actually Jewish.
Oh.
As if you can't be white and Jewish. But anyway, but he had a black girlfriend.
Were you guys close?
But he was so cool. I mean, he's still alive. He's so cool. Good energy, always very supportive. You know, the great thing about working there was the access I had to being able to work the stage a lot.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I was able to write my one-woman show, like my first stand-up special, when I was pregnant. And so it was called Single and Pregnant. And I worked on it there, worked a lot of jokes. And even when I was pregnant, I still was doing shows. Like I was a pregnant girl on stage, and people were like, "Who's this pregnant?" You know, like I was pregnant, still going. You know, I was doing shows until 3 days before my daughter was born.
Oh my gosh.
And I say that with confidence because I shot my stand up special 3 days before she was born. So I shot it on a Saturday, and she was born on a Tuesday. That following Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
2016 was a
very busy year.
Yeah.
Very busy year. Yeah. But I don't think I could have got through that pregnancy without having comedy. Because it really gave me something to focus on outside myself. It really gave me something and some place to really focus my energy and keep top of mind, and gave me like a end goal that was more attainable, that I could understand.
Yeah.
Because bringing a child into this world and never doing it is so like daunting. So if you put something else in front of it that's daunting on its own, you know, it makes it a little bit easier to deal with both, right? So the idea of me doing a special for my pregnancy came out of the idea of, you know how women do like those pregnancy shoots? Like when they're pregnant and they took these pictures while they're like, you know, on the beach.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and then they do like a heart on their belly, you know, oh, I'm so pregnant and happy. That shit did not feel real to me. Okay. I was like, I could not do that. But what felt right to me was doing a special about being pregnant and writing about it and talking about it. And that felt more authentically me than doing that stuff to commemorate and like say me being pregnant. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to write me a pregnancy special and I'm going to shoot it. And that would be my pregnancy photo shoot.
Did you record it?
Yeah, I have it on YouTube.
Very nice. Mm-hmm. I need to watch this.
Yeah, I thought you did your homework. Here, you weren't stalking good enough here, sir. That's on YouTube. It's actually pinned on my Facebook page. It's pinned.
This was in 2016, right?
2016. I shot that August 2016.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. It took me a while to put it up, but I eventually did.
You were talking about those pregnancy photo shoots? Yeah, why do they do that? No offense to
No offense to pregnant people. No offense to those who were knocked up. I think it's one of those things people do just to commemorate the occasion.
Oh, I see.
You know, just like you take the pictures when you get married.
Right.
They're marking like a milestone, I guess, right? And so I felt the pressure of like I'm supposed to do it, but it just didn't feel like me. Like I just couldn't imagine myself laying in a field of daisies and being like pregnant. You know, I just couldn't. I just couldn't imagine going to JCPenney's and being like by myself. Just I just couldn't do it. But the idea of having a stand-up special talking about being single and about being pregnant and how that felt, and that felt real. Right. That felt like me. And because I was being honest with the process and because it was something that I genuinely cared about, I was able to put it together. I was pregnant. And it has amazing people I worked with too who really, really helped out a lot and helped me produce it and work on it and get it cut. And it was on itself was another baby, So I had 2 babies.
Twins.
Twins, yes. I had my own twins.
Everybody go watch Marlana's YouTube.
Yes. It's called Single and Pregnant. Check it out.
How long was it?
It's 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I had some sketches put in there too.
Yeah.
So I shot some sketches. So I was pregnant shooting sketches too. It was a lot of work, but it gave me something to think about and work on and to really focus and not think about, oh, I'm pregnant, oh, I'm so big, oh, I'm so ugly, and all these things that go in your mind and the hormones. There's so much that happens when you're pregnant that people don't talk about. But it gave me an opportunity not to focus on them and to worry about something else.
Yeah.
And it allowed for the pregnancy to go by quicker, I feel.
Yeah.
And not for me to be stressed out about being pregnant. I was stressed, but it wasn't
Mm.
about being pregnant. It was like getting this, shooting this, and getting this done. You
Yeah.
know, which is different.
Almost like therapy. Well, not therapy, but with
Hmm.
like kind of a form of
Yeah, it's a form of like a mind game, I guess. You play with yourself, you know.
It's cool though.
It's cool because this is kind of what happens with people when they have multiple kids. Like they say, the second pregnancy is a little easier than the first because you're so busy dealing with your actual kids you have outside that the whole idea of growing another child isn't on your mind because you're trying to raise this other outside being, you
Right.
know. And I guess it kind of ended up feeling the same way. Like I wasn't focused on so much of her in essence of like I'm trying to get this baby, this other baby made and shot,
Yeah.
and I only have a certain amount of time because it's single and pregnant. I can't be afterwards and being, you know, it's not as impactful, you know. Yeah.
I think we're about at time, Marlana. Thank you so much for doing this. Any
Yeah.
last words of encouragement to fellow comics in the LA scene? Maybe young or up and coming, or the ones that you've seen.
Don't be scared to be yourself. No, really, like don't be scared to authentically be yourself. Like they see other people and we see other people make it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and you want to be like them, but that's not what's going to get you the work. Like them is already out there.
Yeah.
If somebody wants like them, then they book them.
Mhm.
Then they get the work, right? And then maybe you get lucky, you're so close to being like them that they say no to the job, you gotta get it, you know? but you still need to be yourself and have an idea of yourself and remember to live life. I think it happens a lot of times. We all get focused on, I gotta make it, I gotta make it, I gotta make it, right? And so life is happening. Life is happening, and you're saying no to all these things. And because you're so like, I gotta be about the work, I gotta be focused on it. But the things that's going to help you be a better comic, the things that are going to be make you be a better actor, are the real life things.
Mm.
And if you cut those out, then you're missing a lot of opportunities for one, for material, but two, just figuring out who you are because it's your circumstances that tell you who you are. The circumstances of that you're put in really show you who you really are. And if you don't allow those things to access yourself, then you're really missing out on a lot of growth as an artist and as a human being.
I feel like, Marlana, your next step is to become some kind of a professor.
Teach acting.
Comedy school.
Oh, that'd be something to do. Yeah. They say if you can't do, teach. I know what you mean, but yeah. I don't know who would sign up. They'd be like, this crazy broad, what did she do? What did she ever do? I can do crack them up. I ain't nothing. What she really did. But I don't know. I guess, and I think it's also because I've been in the business for so long, and also just talked to so many people, and I'm at the point in my life where people who I came in with, they're now making it. So like when I turn on television or watching a show or watching them film, I'm like, oh, that's such and such. And my boyfriend always thinks I'm showing fuck off when I do that. But I'd be like, no, I took classes with them in New York, or this like, oh, I used to do shows with him at Crack 'Em Up. Like I'm at that point in my life where people who I came in with are in essence like excelling and being at that level that we all kind of like strive to be in. And I always feel like that girl who got pregnant in school and left to go have the baby, and now they came back to school. And everybody they went to school with now is graduating and did everything else, and now I'm in school with a whole bunch of new kids, like, what? What's this pregnant girl talking about, But yeah, but I'm at that point, so when I say things and see things...
Super, like, I would know that you were doing the crack them up with?
Well, I came in with Punky, with Punky Johnson. She's on SNL now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know her.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And so I came in with her. She was at Marty. She was doing all the stuff, And now, like, she's on SNL. And the cool thing is, when I was in Tampa last, she and Dicey, who's on the road with her, they so happened to be in Tampa. And I hit them up like, hey, girl. And I totally was like, hey, I want to come by and hang out. And they're like, hey, you want to do a set?
Oh, wow.
Hell, fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
And I just did a set. but and it was like like 10 minute set, on their show. And again, I came in with them,
Wow.
and I went and had the baby, left. They kept working.
Yeah.
They kept working. They kept hustling, and now they're at a certain level. And it's great to see them win. And that's the other thing. You got to be happy for your people.
Yeah.
You got to really be happy for people to win. That's the thing. So many people get so jaded and so angry about the business and being like, oh, I could have did that. Or that. You know what? It didn't happen. But you need to be happy for those who it happens for. Because what's due to you or for you is going to happen for you when it's meant to happen. And you have to be happy for the people who it's happening for.
And they also don't have kids.
What's that?
They also don't have kids.
And they don't have kids. But let me tell you, don't knock having kids. They're just so, like, they're little gold mines for material. Every day she does something. But no, yeah, they don't have kids. But they also, they made that sacrifice, because some of them now are like, I'm getting out that window to having kids, and I kind of wanted to have kids, especially women. It's different for men. Men, you could be like 90. Look at, all these old men in Hollywood, Robert De Niro, all them, they still having kids. But if, as a woman, there really is like that, if you want to have your kids naturally, right? And not have to go through all the crazy stuff that you got to do. There really is like a time clock. If you saw yourself as having children, there is a real biological time clock that's going on. And there's going to be a point where you're going to have to say, I'd rather have this career over physically having the baby myself.
Yeah.
Not to say you're not going to be a mother. There's so many ways to be a mother now, right? But there's going to be a point where you're like, I'm going to have to choose this, really.
Yeah.
And it can happen when you get pregnant. Maybe you get knocked up, and are you going to have that baby? Are you going to keep it or what? Or it may just become like where you've been working for so long and you look up like, damn, where did time go? Yeah.
That's true though. The biological clock thing.
That's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Marlana dropping pearls of wisdom today, everyone. I definitely didn't see this.
You didn't see this going. We did a lot. We went a lot of places today. Yeah.
But really, thank you so much, Marlana.
And thank you for having me. We know we talked about some things that I forgot I haven't done or thought about, so that's great.
I don't know how to say this. I root for you and Isla's and Mr. Tim. And your continued success in both comedy and acting. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me.
All right.